Welcome, everybody. Welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome, fellow deplorables. Welcome, fellow dregs of society. Welcome, all you rock dwellers. You're always welcome here at the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. And joining me as my co-host is the patriot from the battle-born state, the silver state of Nevada, and that's Sharron Angle. Sharron, welcome back to Conservative Commandos.
Thanks so much, Rick. It's always great to be here and great to look at the news. You know, I was really shocked over the weekend. I'm listening, and someone said, well, you know, that pornographer, that pedophile, they were really using some great words. He's dead. And I said, what? Jeffrey Epstein is dead? And so it was really a shock to me that they are now calling it an apparent suicide. But, you know, I was also listening last night to a fellow that has some, he's going after this whole idea of human trafficking. And he said that Epstein is really a trafficker. He was making these children available to others. And because of that black book, he was not just a pedophile himself. If he were to go to trial, everyone that he was procuring or furnishing these children to would become a part of that trial, a part of being investigated. And that just brought up this whole idea that he had some real connections to the Clintons. And we know that if you have any connection to the Clintons, your days are numbered, it seems like. You know, Vince Foster was an apparent suicide. So I can't help but wonder if this is real, this Jeffrey Epstein, or if it's just a way to stop the thing from ever coming to a case and ever really getting to the bottom of what was going on there.
Well, not only the Clintons, he had this black book. I'm sure there are a lot of names of a lot of high-profile people that were in this black book. Knee-jerk reaction, Sharron, my knee-jerk reaction is good riddance to bad rubbish. I mean, I'm glad the guy's gone. At least one thing, he'll never hurt anybody else, okay? Let this man go to hell. Let him burn in hell. That's number one. He'll never hurt anyone else. Number two, it's going to save the taxpayer a lot of money to come up with the inevitable truth that this man was a piece of garbage. He was a piece of garbage who had no right living among civilized people. Number three, we as taxpayers now will not have to go through the expense of a trial and housing this piece of garbage for the rest of his life. So I hope he's burning in hell right now. But you're all right. It is very dangerous to know the Clintons. My gosh, how many people who know or have been associated with the Clintons are dead through different means. Number one, suicide, all the suicides. Maybe it's just bad to know the Clintons for your mental health to commit suicide. I don't know. And the other thing is when you talk about him being a trafficker, making these children or these girls or these women available to other criminals. Bill Clinton visited his island 26 times. Now, why did Bill Clinton go there for 26 times? Was it for the sun? Was it for the sun to get a good suntan? It just, you know, if it stinks, there's a reason it stinks.
Well, and when I think about this, of course I would have, as our Lord says, I would have none perish, but have all come to everlasting life. So it's always sad for me to think of someone going to hell and not having
Well,
an
you're a better
opportunity.
person than I am, Sharon, because I'm glad to see a piece of trash like that go to hell.
Well, I don't know if I'm a better person, but I know that my God is merciful and loves everyone, even these guys that are so unlovely. But I guess the part that really shocked me was that we will never get to the truth about why Clinton was there, and perhaps he needs to be in jail as well. In fact, I have a sneaking hunch he probably does need to be in prison for a lot of the things in his background, and there will be a judgment on that, of course. But it's really something when you start to hear about the problem that we have in the United States with human trafficking. And here we had a trafficker, someone that we could have really gotten quite a lot of information from, and now that's not available to us.
Well, Sharon, the other crime of this whole thing is he could have been stopped years ago. When he was first convicted of Florida and got a lousy year and a half. This piece of trash got. He could have been stopped at that time. How many girls did he use and mistreat and ruin their lives forever? How many of those things took place in the years after he was released to the point where he was rearrested? Could have been stopped a long time ago.
There seems to be a cover-up, if you will. People not wanting this exposed. So the reason he only gets a year and a half and he gets let off and we don't know any more about this guy is because somebody in the judicial system in Florida really, maybe it's even deeper than that, just didn't want Jeffrey Epstein to be exposed for what he really was, a human trafficker. Secondly, this seems to go further in the cover-up. If this wasn't a suicide, there's an attempt now to cover up even more. And we see it at our border. This whole idea of open borders and not taking a really good look at what's going on with these children. We know that they're coming in and 30% of them are not with their parents. Those children should be grabbed up right away and rescued right away because obviously there's a trafficking thing going on there with 30% of those kids that are coming. And
we've also heard about the sexual abuse.
That's right. They're all equipped with a rape kit. What's
of the
that
women
about?
That come up are raped. Gosh, what happens to these children? Because if you're going to rape women, the same evil mind will abuse a child too.
Well, and we know that these children are coming across the border with rape kits. Why? Why would they have a rape kit if that person that's bringing them doesn't know exactly what's going to happen next? So this is a tragedy beyond tragedies to me. We have over 300,000 cases of human trafficking right here in the United States. That's against our own citizens. Wow. Let alone these ones that are coming into the country now because of this open border situation. And we have more children that are being victimized. At some point, someone's got to care about the kids. They have to say enough is enough. We've got to quit protecting these perpetrators, which is exactly what we've been saying about this Jeffrey Epstein. Why did he only get a year and a half? Someone's protecting him. That's why.
I agree. And, Sharon, we do need to take a break. But on the other side, I want to pick up this conversation about Jeffrey Epstein and they called an apparent suicide. Well, we have some information on that coming from a former inmate at the Metropolitan Correctional Center saying that there is no way that Jeffrey could have committed suicide. But you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. And we've got three great guests joining us here today. And on the other side, we'll tell you who they are and what our topics for conversation will be. But for right now, Today's show, like all our shows, is being brought to you by the First Amendment, protected by the Second. Sharon and I will be right back.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is, there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to BuyYourTimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
And once again, we want to thank you for staying with us. We always appreciate you joining us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. My co-host is Sharron Angle, and I am Rick Trader. And we're always looking for great guests here on Conservative Commandos. If you have a guest suggestion, please email me, Rick at conservativecommandosradioshow.com. It's long but easy. Rick at conservativecommandosradioshow.com. And Sharron, speaking of guests, we've got 3 great guests joining us today.
We do. Our first guest is our friend, Congressman Bob Barr, who represented Georgia's 7th District in the House of Representatives from 1995 to 2003. He now practices law in Atlanta, Georgia, and is chairman of Liberty Guard, a nonprofit pro-liberty organization. He also heads the Law Enforcement Education Foundation and a consulting firm, Liberty Strategies. He's written an article, The Follow-Up Speech Trump Needs to Make, after the dual mass murders that we've experienced recently. Congressman Barr thinks that President Trump could do one more thing. So we're gonna find out what that is when we talk to him. Our next guest is once again a longtime friend of the show, Hans von Spakovsky, who is an authority on a wide range of issues, including civil rights, civil justice, the First Amendment, immigration, rule of law, and government reform. And as a senior legal fellow at the Heritage Foundation's Edward Meese, the Third Center for Legal and Judicial Studies, his analysis and commentary have appeared in the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Times, Political, Human Events, National Review Online, Town Hall, and then along with John Fund, he's co-authored a couple of books. The first one is Who's Counting? How Fraudsters and Bureaucrats Put Your Vote at Risk. And the second, Obama's Enforcer, Eric Holder's Justice Department. We've asked him to come on and talk to us about voter ID opponents lose again, this time in North Dakota.
And when they lose, we win.
We hope so. We hope so. We hope so. Sometimes we're not too sure, but we'll find out from Hans von Spakovsky on that, whether we've lost or won in this deal, but I think we won. Finally, our final guest is Rob Natelson. He has a divided professional life between the private non-profit sector and state and local government. A former law professor and nationally known constitutional scholar, he is currently a self-employed consultant who serves as senior fellow in constitutional jurisprudence at the Independence Institute in Denver. And we've asked him to talk about an article he's written, Red Flag Bills, a new front in the progressive attack on the Bill of Rights. I know I'm thinking Second Amendment, but he may have more in mind than just the Second Amendment when it comes to these bills that are coming out now as a knee-jerk reaction to the recent killing sprees that we've seen. So,
and Sharron, these knee-jerk, indeed, but these knee-jerk reactions, they never work. They always sound good, and we're doing something. But to me, these red flag bills. You know how they say the road to hell is paved with good intentions. This is another road to hell. This is another situation that is going to infringe upon our rights and liberties. And it's all being pushed by the left. You want to control these violent crimes? We've got to think about the morality of our society and what has happened over the last 40, 50 years to erode our morality, to rip at the fabric of morality of our country. The road to hell is paved with liberalism. That's what it's paved with. Well, Sharron, at first part of the show, you and I were talking about the apparent suicide. They're calling it an apparent suicide of Jeffrey Epstein. But I have an article here that I wanted to discuss with you. According to a former Metropolitan Corrections Center, and that's where he was housed when he died. According to a former Metropolitan Corrections Center inmate, there is, quote, no way registered sex offender Jeffrey Epstein could have pulled off killing himself in the Manhattan facility. Quote, There's no way that man could have killed himself. I've done too much time in those units. It's an impossibility. And this is what a former inmate told the New York Post. Okay, Epstein was found to have apparently hung himself on Saturday morning at the MMC facility and was transported to a hospital in Manhattan where he was taken. The former convict is highly skeptical of the apparent suicide due to the conditions, precautious nature of MCC. Quote, between the floor and the ceiling is like 8 or 9 feet. There's no way for you to connect anything. You have sheets, but they're paper thin, not strong enough. He was 200 pounds. It could have never happened. They know a person cannot be injurious to themselves, he noted. The clothing they give you is a jump-in uniform. Everything is dark brown. So here's a former inmate at this facility who says there's no way that Jeffrey could have committed suicide. Another point, Sharon. About a week or two ago, Jeffrey Epstein attempted to commit suicide. You would think that he was on a suicide watch, or should have been on a suicide watch. Apparently not so much. Apparently not so much for this to have happened, Sharron Angle. There is more to this story than what we know about. That's where the investigation, I believe, needs to go.
Well, even if it does, what do you know about the Vince Foster suicide that you didn't know the day that it came out and was reported? See, we have all this, we say we want them investigated, but it never really gets to the light of day, does it, Rick? We still
want them investigated,
know.
But will it happen? I don't know. And as far as Vince Foster goes, and we could talk about Vince Foster and all the other quote-unquote friends of the Clintons that have turned up dead. Our friend Dana Allen is an expert on the Vince Foster death. We got to have Dana back on to talk about Vince Foster. But it's as we were talking in the first segment, it's very dangerous to be a friend or an associate of Hillary and Bill Clinton. Here's another guy, Jeffrey Epstein, who is a very, very close friend of Bill Clinton. As I said in the first segment, he visited that island 26 times. 26 times Bill Clinton visited that island.
Well, it only shows that there's that connection between he and Clinton. And of course, with that connection, when there's stuff that's going to come to light, there's a reason not to have him around. Just like when Vince Foster knew too much, there was a reason not to have him around. And will the investigation ever come so that we know what happened there? I doubt it. Look at all of the smoking guns, if you will, surrounding Hillary Clinton and the Russian investigation and all of the emails that, there's just so much there with the Clintons that never gets explained. Never gets explained. Hey, Sharon, let's take a quick break. And on the other side, we're going to talk about Elizabeth Warren a little bit before we get our first guest on. But you're listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. Don't go away. Sharon and I will be right back. We're going to talk about another tax proposed by Elizabeth Warren. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
And once again, we want to thank you for staying with us. We're always appreciative of that. And this is the Conservative Commandos radio show. My co-host today is Sharron Angle. Yes, that's Sharron Angle. And yours truly, Rick Trader. And want to give a shout out to the people who listen to us on stations in Jacksonville, Tampa, and the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas and Reno, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Boulder and Colorado Springs, Milwaukee, Long Beach, California, Arlington, Virginia, Washington, D.C. We are everywhere. We are everywhere. And Sharron, what did Reagan say about taxes and the Democrats? You know, if it walks, they'll tax it. If it doesn't walk, kick it and then they'll tax it. Well, Elizabeth Warren has another tax scheme.
Well, she does. It's this, once again, this knee-jerk reaction that we've been talking about to the murders that have happened recently. Of course, we know that guns do not murder people. It's people who murder other people, and then we'll figure out every conceivable means to murder if that's their intent. We've had knife murders, we've had vehicular murders, we've had all kinds of creative ways to kill other people. And so we know it's not the gun. But in reaction to these slayings that have happened recently, of course, the first thing we saw, which was shocking, is that all the Democrat candidates were using it as a way to fundraise. And I can't tell you how disgusted I am, Rick, that they would use the tragedy of others in order to make a buck. But that's not.
They're good at it.
Yeah,
but
that's
they do.
That's not the.
What did Saul Alinsky say? Don't let any
crisis go unused. Right.
There you go.
Yeah. You use those crises, and they are good at it. Well, this is just another one of those things that Democrats are good at. They're good at taxation. Reagan knew it, and they will find a way to tax because they know better than we do how to run our lives. And so if they can get us to tax, get us to pay them, then they can regulate more. And that's exactly what these Democrats are doing. Elizabeth Warren thinks it'd be a great idea now to put a 30% tax on all firearms and a 50% tax on ammunition. Wow.
So what's that supposed to do? Oh, gee, I got to pay a 30% tax on a gun or 50% tax on ammunition. Oh, that's going to stop me from going and committing a mass murder, right? That's going to stop me. Oh, that 30%, that 50% tax, that's really going to stop me from going into a Walmart and killing a bunch of people who I don't know.
Well, a lot of times the crimes that are committed with guns, they're not done with a gun that was bought over the counter from a reputable dealer. And it doesn't have to do with how much ammunition you have either. This whole thing is aimed at law-abiding citizens exercising their Second Amendment right. They're wanting to decrease the amount of people who can afford to have a gun and then afford to have the ammunition to go in that gun. Has absolutely nothing to do with the crimes that have been committed here recently. And if that isn't enough, Chuck Schumer, not to be outdone, not to be outdone, he wants to regulate the sale of body armor. So, not
body armor.
Body armor. Yeah, so
not the deodorant, the stuff you spray in you. Oh my gosh.
And we know that people do wear body armor for different reasons, but most of it is self-defense, of course. So, it's just one more thing that they've seen an opportunity. Never let a crisis, it's always an opportunity for them, a crisis. And so here we have one more opportunity where the Democrats can tax it and regulate it. Tax it and regulate it. It's their song.
So let me get this straight, Sharon. Somebody's going to take a gun and go into a school, a movie theater, a Walmart, and shoot up the place. Their intentions is to do as much harm, to kill as many people as possible. That's their intention, okay? But number one, they don't want to put their own life at risk. So in their plan is body armor. Body armor. And because they can't buy body armor, or there's going to be an extra tax on body armor, that's going to prevent that person from that mass murder, right? Help me out here, right?
I don't think that that's even in their thought process. From what we know about these mass murderers.
Most of them are in it to death.
That's right.
Most of them do not come out alive. Most of them do not throw down their weapon or put down their weapon and surrender to the police. No, they're in it to die.
Well, and a majority of them commit suicide. So body armor doesn't...
armor's going to prevent them from putting the gun in their mouth and pulling the trigger, right?
Yeah,
but this is so idiotic. You know, Sharon, I got to say this one more time. We don't have a gun violence problem in America. We do not have a gun violence problem in America. What we have is we have a criminal violence problem in America. We have a morality problem in America. And I believe that's caused by the left. Because if you look at the genesis of all these mass killings, all these mass shootings, started after the Bible was taken out of the schools. You know, the Bible, the 10 Commandments, the one that says, thou shalt not kill. Oh, no, you can't have that in the school. You can teach kids all this stupid crap that they're taught today. I'm not talking about reading and writing and math and science, but all the other garbage that we know is being taught in school. But you can't teach them, thou shalt not kill. You can't teach them that. Nowhere can you see in the schools anything that says, thou shalt not kill. That's gone, and that's been gone since before all these mass killings and shootings started, Sharron Angle.
Well, you're right, Rick. You're right. 1962 is a benchmark moment in America's history. You can see all kinds of things spiraling out of control from that day forward. It was fun to listen to Dennis Prager say that he got blocked on Facebook, on Google, because he had an article on the 10 Commandments, and he asked him, what is so offensive about the 10 Commandments that you blocked me? And they said, well, you mentioned murder.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
It is absolutely ridiculous. I will point our listeners back to an interview that we did with Karen Cataline on an article that she wrote. And what she said is leftism is dangerous to our mental health in the United States.
It's a mental disease. It is indeed a mental disease. Well, Sharon, let's take a break and get our first guest on. And you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show. She is Sharron Angle, and I am Rick Trader. And we're coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. Bob Barr, former congressman from Georgia, is going to be joining us after this break, and he's written a terrific article, The Follow-Up Speech Trump Needs to Make After These Mass Shootings. Don't go away. Sharon and I will be right back with our guest right after this.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to buyyourtimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's buyyourtimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
And welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. And Sharron, our next guest is with us. As you always do, please make him feel welcome.
Well, it's an honor and a pleasure to introduce Bob Barr, who has represented Georgia's 7th District in the House of Representatives from 1995 to 2003. He now practices law in Atlanta, Georgia, and is chairman of Liberty Guard, a nonprofit pro-liberty organization. He also heads the Law Enforcement Education Foundation and a consulting firm, Liberty Strategies. Congressman Barr, welcome to Conservative Commandos radio show.
Well, thank you. It's great to be with you all again.
Well, it's always great to have you. And we've got an article here that you wrote, a follow-up speech Trump needs to make. You say in the article what follows in the coming days and weeks of these tragedies that we've had, these shootings, however, is far more consequential and important. So you're talking about what Trump needs to do next. In the article, you say everything he's done so far is great, but what does he need to do next?
When President Trump spoke to the nation last week in the wake of the shootings in El Paso and Dayton, Ohio, I think his message was very appropriate. It was very short, it was very sincere, it was very muted, very solemn. And I think that was appropriate. His follow-up visits, I think, were appropriate to El Paso and Dayton. What I think the president really needs to do fairly shortly is to give a national address and put to rest once and for all any notion, any hint whatsoever that white nationalism has any place in the political agenda or political debates in our country. For years now, I think some of these white nationalists have tried to attach themselves, kind of like leeches, to the Republican Party. The Republican Party, of course, does not take the bait, does not in any way, shape, or form support white nationalists. But the problem continues because they seem to feel that maybe they have a place in the Republican Party. So I think it's very important for the president, who firmly believes, as we all do, that white nationalism has no place in our political dialogue whatsoever. The president needs to simply make that extremely clear, very explicit. Now, the Democrats, of course, don't make it easy for him to say really anything. They got on to him because he was incompassionate, that he was mean. Well, he goes out to El Paso and Dayton and sincerely tries to meet with the victims and so forth. And what happens? The Democrats get on to him for that. So the president can't win with the other party, but I do think it's important for the American people for him to take to the airwaves and say once and for all, put to rest this notion that white nationalism and white extremism has any place in our national dialogue and will not be tolerated.
Well, white nationalism, white extremism, I'm not exactly sure what those terms mean because there's no organization really, is there?
There are a number of organizations. It's sort of an amorphous movement, sort of like Antifa. And by the way, I think that the Democrat Party needs to make clear to the American people, perhaps through its presidential wannabes, that this Antifa movement and related violence-oriented groups on the left have no place whatsoever within the Democratic umbrella, within the Big Ten of the Democratic Party. So I think it's time for both parties to say, look, whatever they call themselves, whatever organizations, whether it's Antifa or some white nationalist group, these groups, these extremists, are not going to find any home, any support within either of our major parties. I think it's very important for both parties to make that message clear.
Now, I haven't heard that either one of these most recent shootings was motivated by a group. It seems like these are act-alone folks. Is that true, or are they members of groups?
It's hard to say, and we're still finding out, of course. For example, the shooter in Dayton, Ohio, apparently did have some communications prior to his murderous rampage in support of Antifa. So it could very well be that he felt a connection with Antifa and some of these leftist-oriented violent groups. The shooter in El Paso, by all of the information that I've seen so far, seems to indicate was operating on his own, but certainly seemed to have very clear anti-Hispanic views that seemed to motivate him, at least in part.
It's so difficult to tell because we know that these folks are definitely, I want to say, mentally ill. I can't think of a different term to apply to someone who goes on a rampage, a killing rampage like this. And so to have any group say, well, yeah, that guy's a member of mine, or it just seems like these are folks that may want to identify themselves with a movement but aren't really accepted by that movement either.
It's a very difficult situation. For example, when you have, I think it was Kamala Harris, a United States Senator, just recently, maybe over the weekend or earlier today even, blasting the president and our officers with ICE for conducting a raid that simply was enforcing existing laws passed by the Senate and the House. So the Democrats, again, as I said earlier, they're not making it easy for any sort of civil dialogue at all here. And that's why I think it's important for the president to take the lead, to take the high road, so to speak.
Well, and now we need to know what does that high road look like? He seems to have some effectiveness on Twitter. I mean, everybody follows that Twitter feed, and he seems to be able to make a dent in the media by getting them to follow that Twitter feed. But how would you suggest that he gets the media to cover this, especially the alphabet media?
I'm not a great fan of Twitter. I mean, I use Twitter occasionally to send out messages, and I follow it from time to time. But I think what's going on in our country nowadays is far more important than Twitter. And it takes a prime time speech by the President of the United States of America from the Oval Office to clear the air, to clear the deck here, and take away the issue from the Democrats insofar as he's able. I mean, a lot of them, you're never going to be able to please them. But I do think it's important for the president to take that message directly from the Oval Office to the American people in prime time.
Here on the Conservative Commandos radio show, our guest is Congressman Bob Barr. He served the 7th District of Georgia. He's also the chairman of Liberty Guard, a nonprofit pro-liberty organization. Congressman, do you think that the president, I've heard some people say the president himself needs to tone down his rhetoric. People have said he needs to get off Twitter. And I want to say, well, this is what got him elected in the first place. How does he walk this fine line between rhetoric, toning it down, and still at the same time connecting with the people who elected him?
Well, as Popeye once said, I am what I am. And President Trump is not going to change. He has a certain way about him. People may not agree with his mannerisms, the way he says things, what he says, and so forth. And I don't think that his supporters want him to change. He shouldn't change. He doesn't need to. Right. But by the same token, I do think it's important to remember that he is President of the United States of America. And from time to time, the nation needs to hear directly from the president in a coherent, cohesive way, not sound bites, which is basically what Twitter is. But again, from the Oval Office, to me, there's something very, very important and vital in these times to have the president sitting in the Oval Office, being covered by the major networks and cable, and look directly to the American people and deliver a speech, a real speech, which this president is certainly capable of doing.
Congressman, that speech, what group of people need to hear it? Because my thought is the other side, the liberals, they don't want to hear it. They won't pay attention. Conservatives, no matter what the president does or say, it's fine by them. What group needs to hear this speech?
I think independents need to hear it. Perhaps people that have not been directly involved with either the Democrat Party or the Republican Party, who may not be directly supporters of the president, they need to hear it. They need to be reassured in a sense that he's got their back, that he has the very best interest, as he does, of the American people at heart. The American people writ large need to hear that. And I think it's important also that members of Congress hear that from the president also, because they've sort of been missing in action in a lot of respects in this whole debate. And perhaps by the president taking to the airways from the Oval Office and delivering that very clear message against the hate groups, whoever they are, and the extremists on both edges of the political spectrum, maybe that will awaken members of Congress so that they become a little bit more engaged in this debate with him.
Congressman, I agree with you. Neo-Nazis, white supremacists, whatever you want to call them, in my opinion, have no place. have no place in the conservative movement, the Tea Party movement, or the Republican Party. However, Antifa, the Antifa seems to be, in my opinion, the new KKK, where the KKK, back after the Civil War, was the military arm of the Democrat Party. I really do believe that Antifa is that arm now of the Democrat Party. We've seen situations like a few weeks ago, there was an attack at one of the detention centers where an Antifa supporter went and actually firebombed a car at a detention center. Well, that was Antifa inspired, but yet I hear no call from the Democrat Party to those people and Antifa to say, hey, don't do this, don't firebomb, don't beat, don't riot. But just last weekend in New York City, there was a young man wearing a red hat, a Make America Great Again hat, who was beaten up really badly, had a bone broken in his face. But these are not isolated incidences coming from the left. I've got a report here of almost 600 acts of violence perpetrated on conservatives and Trump supporters. What do you want to say to the Democrat Party to have them rein in groups like Antifa?
They have to hear from the president and from the American people that the American people will not tolerate silence on the part of either party. And particularly, you're right, you put your finger on something that's very important. The Democrats, and particularly those who are interested in being president, being the nominee for the Democratic Party as president, they use some of the most foul and inappropriate language in our political discourse, and that then is translated into action on the part of their supporters. So Maxine Waters, for example, even though she's not one of their presidential wannabes, she has been in the forefront as a leader in the Congress, committee chairwoman, for heaven's sake, urging her supporters to go out and get in the face of people with whom they disagree politically. So the Democratic Party plays a very key role in fostering this environment. And they have a responsibility. The Democrats ought to demand of them to tone it down. And the Antifa groups, interestingly, the Southern Poverty Law Center, which prides itself on highlighting violent-oriented groups and hate groups around the country, for some strange reason, they don't characterize or classify Antifa as a hate group, yet the Family Research Council is characterized by them. So that just gives us an idea of the bizarre world in which the Democrats and the left is operating these days.
Congressman Bob Barr, we want to thank you so much for joining us here on Conservative Commandos radio show. Please tell our audience how they could follow your work, find out more about what you're doing, and also to read your articles.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity once again to be with you all and your many, many viewers and listeners. People can find out either by going to bobbarr.org or the Law Enforcement Education Foundation, laweef.org, which is a pro-law enforcement organization that I'm proud to head.
All right, Congressman Bob Barr, thank you for joining us. Take care and God bless.
Always a pleasure.
And on the other side, we're going to hear from Hans von Spakovsky with the Heritage Foundation. He's written a couple interesting articles, including Voter ID Opponents Lose Again. Don't go away. We'll be right back with our next guest.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving, and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is, there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to BuyYourTimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
And thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. For rebroadcasts of our show, check out our website, ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. You can find our TV show there, our radio show, a lot of terrific articles and a lot of great information. And Sharron, we have a longtime friend of the show with us now. Please make that introduction.
Thank you. It's a great honor always to introduce Hans von Spakovsky, who is an authority on a wide range of issues, including civil rights, civil justice, the First Amendment, immigration, rule of law, government reform, and as a senior legal fellow at the Heritage Foundation's Edwin Meese the Third Center for Legal and Judicial Studies. His analysis and commentary have appeared in the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Times Political Human Events, National Review Online, and Town Hall. Along with John Fund, he is the co-author of Who's Counting? How Fraudsters and Bureaucrats Put Your Vote at Risk. And then the other book, Obama's Enforcer, Eric Holder's Justice Department. Hans, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Well, sure. Thanks for having me back.
It's always a pleasure. And of course, we're going to discuss one of my favorite topics, which is voter ID opponents lose again, this time in North Dakota. So talk to us a little bit about this latest Lawson and who's been able to be successful with it.
Sure. North Dakota passed a voter ID law, which in North Dakota is actually a good thing because North Dakota, Sharon, you may remember, is the only state in the country where you don't actually have to register to vote. You just show up on election day and you get to vote. So they passed a voter ID law that requires you to have either a North Dakota driver's license or the non-driver's ID that they supply. And if you don't have that, there are other documents you can use to vote, which include a bank statement, a utility bill, a document from a state, federal, local government that's got your resident address on it, and your name also. And they, of course, were sued. As you know, the left is always suing over these laws. But fortunately, the Court of Appeals, 8th Circuit Court of Appeals, recently threw out an injunction that had been issued by a lower court judge that prevented them from implementing this particular law.
Well, it's interesting, the ones who were fighting this, 6 members of the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa Indians, that's not where I expected this to come from.
Yeah, no, they sued saying that it was discriminatory to require an ID that shows your current residence, because they claimed that a lot of Indians don't have an ID for that, even though this law specifically said that a tribal ID is sufficient to meet the requirements. What's kind of funny about their claim was that all 6 of them, they actually have an ID that does show their current residence, even though they claimed that that was a problem. By the way, one of the things that the Court of Appeals cited was that 99.5% of the voters in the state already have an ID that meets the statute.
99.5%?
Yes.
So who are these guys that don't have an ID? That's a really interesting question right in itself. I think, that one of the things that we found with election integrity is the problem with going across state lines. We know that this happens in many states. I know it happens here from California to Nevada and vice versa, and Arizona into Nevada. So we have tried to control that with voter ID, and that's the only way you can really do it, isn't it, Hans?
Yeah, it is. And, apparently one of the reasons North Dakota passed this law was that, as you know, they've had a big economic boom occurring in North Dakota because of the oil shale industry, and they were worried about folks who were not actually residents of the state coming in and taking advantage of their no registration law to vote on election day. By the way, the 0.5% of individuals who supposedly don't already have the ID needed to meet this law, the court pointed out that the plaintiffs didn't produce any evidence that those individuals had actually tried to get an ID, but somehow had been unable to do so. So even on that issue, the plaintiffs were really deficient in showing that anybody was going to have a problem meeting this legal requirement to vote in the state.
Well, and I think the other thing is how many of those people actually tried to vote. We're unsuccessful just trying to vote, and had to vote on a provisional ballot, because that, of course, there is that avenue always, isn't there, Hans? It's not like you go to the polls and they're going to say, well, you can't even walk in and vote.
No, exactly. There's a federal requirement which North Dakota complies with that people are given a provisional ballot. And by the way, under the North Dakota law, they then had 6 days after the election to show election officials the ID or the other documents that would allow them to vote. So again, yeah, it's not like they're turned down at the polls for voting. They get a provisional ballot, and then they have almost a week to fulfill the requirement for an ID.
And when we're talking about this ID, this is pretty low bar stuff too. It's not a photo ID, is it?
No, it's not, particularly because of the fact that they can show these other forms of ID to vote, which, by the way, those other documents that can be used, they're just a mirror image of the federal requirement. Remember, there's a federal law requirement that says that if you are a first-time voter registrant, a first-time voter, you have to show some form of ID, and it's the very same thing. Utility bills, bank statements, or government documents with your name and address on them.
Well, and those could be brought in by anybody because you don't have to show that you're actually that person that lives there. And I think that's
Right.
that's the other problem with those of us that have seen this kind of fraudulent voting is that it's not it's also taking on someone else's identity, if you will. They're using their sample ballots. They're using anything that shows an address, and that doesn't necessarily mean they're that person, does it?
No, it's a very loose requirement, and yet even that was apparently too much for the liberal groups that provide the money for these kind of lawsuits. You know, the most shocking thing in this case is the fact that a lower court, the federal judge in a lower court, actually bought this argument and issued an injunction against the law, which now has been fortunately thrown out.
You know, I'm always amazed at those that say there's a disenfranchisement of voters because of voter ID law. What about the disenfranchisement of the voters who actually could produce and are legitimate voters, and the fraudulent votes that come in? And anyone who denies that there's fraud in the election system, I don't think has been paying attention, have they, Hans?
No, they haven't. In fact, as you know, we started a database of election fraud cases at the Heritage Foundation a couple of years ago. We're about to add another dozen cases. We have another 24 that we're reviewing, so that we are going to break the 1,200 mark. More than 1,200 wow. proven cases of fraud from across the country.
Well, that's wow. the opposition says, well, that's just a small percentage of all the voters. So how can you say that it's really a big deal in this country? How many people does that 1,200 really represent, do you think?
Well, it only represents a fraction of the cases. First of all, it's a sampling. It's not a comprehensive listing of all the cases. And I know of many other potential cases that have been ignored by prosecutors, by state election officials, who basically don't do anything about information that they get of potential fraud that's occurring in elections. And look, in some of those cases, the ones in our database, those are cases where it changed the result of the election.
Of course, and we know that I believe, and I think that I can know this for a fact, that it's at least 3% in every state. And here in Nevada, it's around 9% of the vote. And as you say, it changes the outcome of elections. We need to go to a break. We are speaking with our guest, Hans von Spakovsky, about voter ID and a big win in the Dakotas this just recently. We are coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, Leading Edge Radio Network, and AM/FM 24/7. I'm Sharron Angle, and we'll be right back with our co-host Rick Trader and our guest Hans von Spakovsky.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is, there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to buyyourtimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. Buyyourtimeshare.com. That's buyyourtimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. Want to give a shout out to the folks who listen to us on radio stations in Jacksonville, Tampa, the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas and Reno, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Boulder and Colorado Springs, Milwaukee, Long Beach, California, Nowell and Arlington, Virginia, and Washington, D.C., and seen on the AUN television network in Northern California. Places like San Francisco, San Jose, Sacramento, areas that really need to hear the truth. Our guest this segment is Hans von Spakovsky of the Heritage Foundation. Hans, thank you for holding through that break. We really do appreciate your time.
Sure thing. Anytime, I'm always happy to speak with you.
Well, we always love having you on. You know that. Now, we're talking about voter ID opponents lose again. Hans, as you're mentioning to Sharron, this was a case that was out in North Dakota, of all people, right, of all places. And you said something I think was very interesting, that North Dakota has seen a boom in its population because of the oil that's out in the Balkans. How long does it take for somebody to become a resident of a state so they can vote legally?
Well, it doesn't take very long at all. They just have to, in essence, declare and have the intention to become a resident of the state.
And as you were mentioning with Sharron, there's a very low bar, a very low threshold of things that people have to produce to be able to vote, such as a utility bill. My argument is just the utility bill. I went to the doctor's this morning. This is a doctor I've been going to for about 2 years now. I had to show photo ID just right, for them to look at my leg, a problem that I've been to this doctor for several times. And this is just one example of where you have to use a photo ID, but not for voting. And it seems like, in my opinion, just showing a utility bill opens up a lot of avenues for voter abuse, for vote abuse.
Look, I agree with that, Rick, but particularly because, and this is why, look, the opponents of voter ID laws, the American people just don't agree with that. They keep losing these cases. They've won very few of them. And the polling shows that the overwhelming majority of Americans, and it doesn't matter what political party they support, it doesn't matter their race or ethnicity, but the polling shows that they overwhelmingly support requiring an ID to vote, a government-issued photo ID. They think it's just common sense. Why? Because just like you, they have to use ID all the time in their everyday lives. I mean, it's not just going to the doctor. It's everything from filling prescriptions to buying a beer at their favorite tavern or bar, to all kinds of other things like, look, if you want to exercise your Second Amendment right to purchase a gun, you're not going to be able to do it without showing a government-issued photo ID.
Right. Hans, you mentioned the 1,200 cases that you guys at the Heritage Foundation have documented. What are you doing with those cases? What's this study for? As you and Sharon were talking, that there have been a lot of elections that have been turned the other way because of illegal voting. What are you guys doing with these cases? Anything in particular?
Well, the point of it is to document this. You know, we got tired at the Heritage Foundation. I got tired of hearing the editorial pages of the Washington Post and the New York Times and other folks saying, well, there's no voter fraud in the United States, not something we need to worry about. So we started documenting this. And I know that our database, that web page at the Heritage Foundation, is one of the most visited sites. And it's now been cited not only in court cases across the country, but by the media and others whenever this issue comes up. And the whole point of this is to show that, unfortunately, fraud still does occur in the U.S., and sometimes it's to an extent that it actually changes election outcomes. And remember, we just had a very specific example of that in the 2018 congressional elections. We had a congressional race in North Carolina that was overturned because of illegal behavior that was going on in that congressional race.
Well, Hans von Spakovsky, talking about behavior trying to overturn an election, you put out another great article, Abusing the Impeachment Process. And we hear, you can't turn on your TV today, at least you can't turn it on and go through any of the alphabet channels without hearing impeachment. But there's been one particular representative, Al Green. He's a Democrat from Texas, who's actually brought up the process through Congress. Can you tell us a little bit about that story and what Representative Green is doing?
Well, sure. As you know, just a couple of weeks ago, there was actually a vote on a resolution that Al Green had sponsored. It lost, but there were actually 95 representatives in Congress, all Democrats, who voted in favor of it. And look, when you read that impeachment resolution, it doesn't cite any actual wrongdoing of the kind that the impeachment clause in the Constitution is intended to get. The impeachment clause is for serious wrongdoing, violations of the law, and other misbehavior by a federal official like the president. It's very clear from Al Green's resolution that he wants to impeach the president not because of serious misbehavior, but because he doesn't like the president's character. He doesn't like his personality. That's not a valid ground for impeachment. That's a way of overturning a legitimate election because you don't like a president's personality or his policies. That is not why the impeachment clause is in the Constitution.
Hans von Spakovsky, there have been two instances or two cases of impeachment. One was Andrew Johnson. The other was Bill Clinton. Can you talk a little bit about how these cases were similar, how they were different, and why they did not meet the terms of high crimes and misdemeanors?
Right. In both of those cases, as you know, there was actually a trial held in the U.S. Senate, and in both cases, the senators voted not to impeach the president. I think the Andrew Johnson case is the one that's most similar to what's happening today. Andrew Johnson was the vice president who took over after Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. And senators, he was impeached not because he had engaged in any actual misdeeds, any violation of the law. He was impeached because members of the Senate, members of the House did not like him and his policies. They did not like the fact that he wanted to continue Abraham Lincoln's policy of being conciliatory towards the southern states to bring them back into the Union after the end of the Civil War. But they criticized him for doing that, and he came very close to being impeached. It was a way of going after him for his policies, not because he'd engaged in any kind of misdeed. And the kind of rhetoric used against him, frankly, was very similar to the kind of rhetoric we hear today against President Trump. And it's been roundly condemned by historians for a misuse of the impeachment powers. And that's not something that we should do in the kind of republic we have and the kind of democratic system we have.
Is perjury, in your opinion, an impeachable offense? And I bring this up because it's been proven that Bill Clinton perjured himself, and yet he was impeached. And it seemed to me, Hans, impeachment was very unpopular with the American people. That's, in my opinion, why the Senate did not convict him. And I look at what's going on here today, Hans. I think the American people want stability in their government. They do not want their president impeached. They don't want that turmoil. So I think it's a big mistake. And let the Democrats keep making this mistake by repeating and repeating and repeating impeachment, impeachment, and impeachment. Am I onto something here, Hans?
No, I think you are. I think it's important for people to understand that impeachment is not a legal process, it's a political process. But it's very clear from the history of impeachment and the way it was put in by the framers of the Constitution that it was only supposed to be used for serious misdeeds. It was not intended to be a way to overturn the prior election. And that seems to be what's going on here.
Hans von Spakovsky, as always, we always love having you join us here in the Conservative Commandos. Please tell our audience how they could follow your work, get your books, read your articles.
Sure, they can go to heritage.org, heritage.org, and they can see everything I've written there.
Hans von Spakovsky, thank you so much for joining us. Take care and God bless.
Thanks for having me.
And this is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. On the other side, we're going to have Rob Natelson joining us, and he's going to be talking about the red flag bills and the perils of red flag. Don't go away. We'll be right back with our next guest.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The secret war is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
And once again, we want to thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. My co-host today is Sharron Angle, and I'm Rick Trader. For rebroadcast, please check out our website, ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. Please like us, friend us, and follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. And if you have a suggestion of someone you would like to interview, please send an email to me at rick@conservativecommandosradioshow.com. I know it's long, but it's easy. rick@conservativecommandosradioshow.com. And Sharron, our next guest is with us. The honor of the introduction is yours.
It is my pleasure to introduce Rob Natelson, who has divided his professional life between the private nonprofit sector and the private and state and local government. A former law professor and nationally known constitutional scholar, he is currently a self-employed consultant who serves as senior fellow in constitutional jurisprudence at the Independence Institute in Denver. Rob, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
It's great to be back. That's one of the best introductions I've ever gotten, except the name is pronounced Natelson.
Oh, so sorry. Rob Natelson, our guest. Well, I'll try to remember that, Rob. We wanted to talk to you about an article that you've written, Red Flag Bills, a New Front in the Progressive Attack on the Bill of Rights. First of all, let's go into this red flag bill. I think that we need a little discussion on that because this is kind of a new thing, I think, as far as coming at an end around, if you will, on our rights. And we'll go into that in more detail. But talk to us about what a red flag bill really is.
Well, the idea behind a red flag bill is to take guns out of the hands of those people who might be dangerous to themselves or others. And while they vary from state to state, they all have certain common characteristics. Generally speaking, somebody who thinks that another person, a gun owner, might be a risk to himself or others, goes to the police or to the court and asks for a restraining order. And the court weighs the unrebutted testimony of that person. And generally speaking, the court decides to grant the order, whereupon the police are ordered to go to the gun owner's house and remove all of his guns, and also to inform him that he can't have them anymore. The laws generally provide for after that, about maybe 2 weeks later, it depends on the state, there is a wider hearing. And at that wider hearing, the gun owner is finally given a chance to defend himself and show why he's not a risk to himself or others. If he's successful, presumably he gets his guns back, although that's not explicit in all the laws. And if he's got a concealed carry permit that's been taken away, presumably he can get that back too. If, on the other hand, he loses that hearing, then he could lose the right to keep and bear arms for up to a year.
And now this is a law that is being proposed in Congress. I've heard it both ways, that there's not a law yet, it's just a discussion, and that we on the Second Amendment side should be leading that discussion so we get the bill written properly. Others say, no, don't even touch it. It's just another way to get around our Second Amendment rights. So what do you think? What's the best course of action here, and is there an action being taken?
Well, it is and isn't a matter of discussion, and it is and isn't a settled bill, a settled law. It depends on the state. About 17 states have passed these laws. It follows that about 33 states have not. However, Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina has a bill in Congress. At this stage, it's not even introduced. It's still in the discussion stage, that would create a federal grant and aid program that would give aid to states that adopt these laws if the laws comply with the standards that Senator Graham thinks are good. Generally speaking, his standards do, insofar as we've seen them, meet due process requirements a little bit more than most of the state laws do. You're right. I was at a meeting today in which people pretty well split on the extent to which we ought to cooperate with this federal effort. On the one side, you could make the effort that, gee, if the federal government gets involved with a good bill, promoting a good bill, then it could improve what exists in the states. The other side of it, actually there are two other sides of it. One is, this is not the federal government's business under the Constitution. It was made very clear at the time of the founding that issues like this were to be handled at the state level, and that is, of course, enshrined in the Bill of Rights in the 10th Amendment. In addition, experience shows, and I can cite my own experience from having been around politics many years, that we usually wind up being rolled in these processes. So somebody can come up with a very good bill that respects due process requirements, and he'll probably be attacked by people who say, well, it's going to make it too hard to get a restraining order, and people are going to die as a result of that. And so the majority of the legislative body may wind up changing that. So I tend to be in the resist category on this particular bill. It is theoretically possible, I think, to draft a bill like this in compliance with due process standards in the Bill of Rights, but I think it's really quite difficult. There's another aspect to this too, and that is, do these things even work? I mean, why are we even discussing it if there's no good proof that they work? I've seen two studies on the subject. One suggests that red flag laws may reduce the amount of suicide through firearms slightly, but another study indicates that they have no effect on violent crime at all, and they may actually raise rape rates slightly. That doesn't strike me as the kind of record that we need to have before we start interfering with people's individual rights.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. As a former legislator, I know that you can have the best intentions when introducing a bill, but by the time it gets through the process, you may end up voting no on your own bill because of the way it's been changed by the other side and actually watered down or even turned around on you. So it's really dangerous business to be putting forward legislation that you think might be good in a situation where you say, and rightly so, what are the proven results? Do we have, with 17 states, you would think we'd have enough evidence to know if this is actually going to be something that is effective or not, and as you say, it's not. So I think it's just another knee-jerk reaction, don't you? I mean, here I'm hearing Elizabeth Warren now. She wants to tax firearms and ammo, and Schumer wants to regulate body armor. So what do you think? Is this just another one of these knee-jerk reactions to an escapade of killings that has been going on?
Well, first let me supplement your point a minute ago. In Colorado, there was in fact a bill that was offered, and some people pointed out that there were no provisions for getting back one's concealed carry permit if the order were denied or expired, and there was no provision for getting back his guns if a permanent order was denied. Well, supposedly that was corrected in committee, and the legislation took care of that. About 2 weeks after it was passed, I happened to be reading it carefully, and I went to one of the people involved in the negotiations and said, you guys didn't get what you wanted, because there are two loopholes, one allowing the police to keep the firearms almost indefinitely, even though the firearms owner is no longer under an order, and the other one making it hard under certain circumstances to get back your concealed carry permit. So you guys got rolled. and that's, as you say, very common within the legislative process. The answer is, yeah, of course this is a knee-jerk reaction. There are some people who just don't want light guns, and they want guns gone, and they see this as one way of handling it. There are others who are more, in theory, protective of the Second Amendment, but in the pressures of politics, they tend to buckle. By the way, there's an interesting historical lesson here. The term red flag law is not new. It actually dates to the 19th century when legislatures began to consider another kind of very dangerous instrumentality, which we can talk about in a minute.
Well, we will talk about it in a minute. We are coming up on a break. We are talking... Hey,
Sharon, let me interrupt. Let Rob finish that. Let's go to a break after he makes that point. I mean, we make the rules, we can change them. So, Rob, go ahead and finish that point.
You don't want to leave you hanging, huh? The very dangerous instrumentality was the automobile. In the late 19th century, automobiles were beginning to come onto the roads, and the railroads didn't like that because this was competition. The farmers didn't like it because it might interfere with their horses, and the people who ran stagecoaches didn't like it because it would cut into their business. So they helped to create this fear scare that this very dangerous instrumentality had to be stopped. So state legislatures and also the English Parliament passed laws called red flag laws. And the reason they were called red flag laws is they provided that motorized vehicles could not move more than 2 miles an hour in town, 4 miles an hour on the highway, and that there had to be a crew of 3 with every such vehicle, and one of the 3 had to walk, I think it was 60 yards ahead with a red flag to warn everybody that a motor vehicle was coming. In other words, it was less about safety and more about trying to squash technology. I think that's what's going on here, too.
Less about safety. You're right. You're right. We are coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, Leading Edge Radio Network, and AM/FM 24/7. And now you can watch us on the AUN TV network in Northern California, specifically Pelosi country, San Francisco, Sacramento, San Rafael. We will be right back with our guest, Rob Natelson. We've been talking about red flag bills, a new front in the progressive attack on the Bill of Rights. And I'm joined here not only by our guest, but by our co-host, Rick Trader.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
And thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader. My co-host today is Sharron Angle, and our guest is Rob Natelson. He's written a terrific article about red flag bills, the new front in the progressive attack on the Bill of Rights. Rob, thank you for holding through that break. We really appreciate your time. And you know, Sharron, I've said it time and time, I love having our guests. They are my teacher. I am their student. And now I found out about red flag laws, how the first red flag law is someone had to walk in front of a car with a red flag. And maybe that was there's a lot of drivers out there today who need somebody in front of them with a red flag warning everybody that this danger is coming. But Rob, thank you for holding through that break. We really appreciate your time. Rob, this is, in my opinion, this is so dangerous on so many avenues. I can see how this law is going to be abused time and time and time again. I think that it is just another example of why and how we can never and ever compromise with liberals. Rob, abuse. Your neighbor gets mad at you, so he reports you. You have an argument with a brother or sister, and they report you. A girlfriend gets mad at a boyfriend, she reports him. And then you have to go to court and prove yourself innocent? How do you prove yourself innocent of a negative? Rob, am I thinking too far outside the box here?
Well, let me give you another hypothetical, too. An abusive boyfriend decides that he wants to rape a girlfriend who is no longer interested in him. And so what he does is he goes to court. Again, she's not in a position to respond because no response permitted. She's not even notified.
No response permitted? No notification?
This is called an ex parte hearing, a hearing without notice. And so he then gets her disarmed so he can have his way with her. This may be the reason why one of the studies I mentioned detected a small increase or a certain increase in rapes after the passage of red flag laws. Also, people who live in high crime neighborhoods, predominantly the poor people, elderly people who depend upon guns for self-defense, that gun can be ripped away from them. Mm-hmm. But the other thing is, at the risk of getting a little abstract, and the reason I call this an attack on the Bill of Rights is, if you look at it, it really is. I mean, the attack on the Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms, that's self-evident, right?
Right.
But there's also an attack on the Fourth Amendment right to be protected against unreasonable searches and seizures. The whole idea of searches and seizures has been, a crime's been committed. They've got probable cause to believe that a crime is committed, and they've got probable cause that you've got evidence proving it. Well, this occurs when no crime's been committed. The gun owner at this point, even if believed to be a little strange, is completely innocent. And yet a warrant is issued and his premises are searched. That's the Fourth Amendment. Fifth Amendment. The Fifth Amendment says that property should not be taken for public use without just compensation. Well, you're taking somebody's gun away for at least 2 weeks, maybe a year, and you're doing it without compensation. Again, potential violation of the Fifth Amendment. Sixth Amendment. Sixth Amendment says that you're entitled to jury trial in criminal cases, and that you're entitled to confront your witnesses against you in criminal cases. Now, while this isn't a criminal case, it involves confiscation of property, and so it really is, as a matter of practicality, at least as serious as a criminal case. Mm-hmm. But you're not entitled to a jury trial, and you're not entitled to be confronted with the witnesses against you. You're not even given notice at the initial hearing, and at the final hearing you are given notice, but most of these laws say that the complainant, the person who wants your guns taken away, can testify by telephone, where you can't really see the person's demeanor, or can even testify by affidavit, not testify orally at all. Of course, that's in the discretion of the court, but still you can
question your accuser.
Yeah, you no right to question or face your accuser, no right of cross-examination. Now let's jump over to the 10th Amendment. There's not a problem with the 10th Amendment as to the state laws, but when Senator Graham says he wants to get the federal government involved in an area that is reserved to the states, you bet that's an interference with the 10th Amendment. And then finally, there's the 14th Amendment. This does apply to the states. This requires that every state grant people due process of law. And the U.S. Supreme Court in 1969 said that if you're going to take, first off, you don't normally take somebody's property away or freeze somebody's property without a hearing at all. But if you are going to do it, there's a very high level of proof that you have to meet, which we can discuss if you like. It's a little technical, but we can discuss it. And these red flag laws fall short of the requirements in virtually every respect. So you go through it. Second Amendment, Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, Sixth Amendment, 10th Amendment, 14th Amendment. What's left of the Bill of Rights?
What's left of the Bill of Rights? Hey, Rob, anywhere that these red flag laws have been passed, do you see any challenges of these laws making it all the way to Supreme Court? Is there anything on that track now?
There will unquestionably be a challenge that will reach to the Supreme Court. It's still kind of rattling around in the lower courts, and I would suspect, Rick, that you'll find judges upholding them, especially if it's not a truly egregious law like Colorado's. And the reason for that, people need to understand this, is that there's an elite judicial culture, legal culture in our country, which understands the importance of the First Amendment, but doesn't really understand the importance of the Second Amendment. It's not really on their radar. And there are a lot of people like that.
We do here at Conservative Commandos. We always say at least once a show that our show is brought to you by the First Amendment, protected by the Second. And if you think about it, those two, in my opinion, work hand in hand. Wherever you've had gun confiscation, gun laws, it's always been followed by some sort of mass murder, some sort of genocide, usually perpetrated by a government or an individual ahead of that government, like an Adolf Hitler, like a Joseph Stalin, like Mao Zedong, like Omar Gaddafi, like a Saddam Hussein, where they taken guns away from the people so they can have their way. Hey, Rob, we've got to run. But we want to thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure being with you.
Here at Conservative Commandos. Rob, please tell our audience how they could read your articles, follow your work.
The best way to read my articles is at independenceinstitute.org, independenceinstitute.org. I also have a book out called The Original Constitution. What it actually said and meant. It explains in simple terms what the original meaning of the Constitution was right after passage of the Bill of Rights. And that's available at Barnes & Noble. And
you have a copy there. You can hold up and show our audience.
Well, I probably have one right behind me.
Well, Rob, next time you come on board with us, make sure you have that book. Hold it up.
Thank you.
We love our friends to be able to use our forum to make a little money. We have no problem with that.
Thank you.
Rob Natelson, we want to thank you so much for joining us. Take care and God bless. And this is the Conservative Commandos with Sharron Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. Don't go away. Sharron and I will be back with more right after this break.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to buyyourtimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Well, Sharron, that just about wraps it up for today's show. Again, I've learned so much from our guests, including the red flag, how you, in the early days of automobiles, somebody had to walk in front of you with a red flag 60 feet away. I don't know. That was, maybe we need that today. There's a lot of dangerous drivers out on the road.
Well, it's always interesting to hear where these things come from.
Yes.
And it was great to have such good guests. We want to thank our guests for being on our show. First, we want to thank Congressman Bob Barr for coming on and talking about a follow-up speech that he thinks Trump should make in the wake of all of these tragedies that have happened with the mass killings in our country. Our second guest, Hans von Spakovsky, always great to have him come on and talk about election fraud, especially after 1.9 million voters were purged from the LA County rolls for being fraudulent. So we need to hear how we're taking care of this problem. And finally, we want to thank Rob Natelson for coming on and talking about those red flag bills as they have to do with this knee-jerk reaction to the to the murders. It's another all-out attack on our Second Amendment. So we want to thank them all for coming on and talking to us about these things.
Absolutely. And, you know, Sharon, these gun laws don't work. That's evident, that gun laws do not work. We have so many gun laws on the books now. This red flag, just another vehicle for abuse. And, you know, the other thing, I say this a lot, Sharon, you cannot compromise with the left. You know, the right and left see compromise very differently. The right sees it, well, we're going to give them a little and then they'll be happy. Well, the left is never happy. It's just one footstep in the direction that they want, and that's the total banning of guns. And that, I believe, is very dangerous.
Yes, it is.
But for right now, we are out of time. We got to run. We got to go. Take care. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow on TV and on radio.